What is a civil engineer? Civil engineers are those responsible for designing and putting together most of the infrastructure. And that would be infrastructure relating to streets, transportation, sewer, water infrastructure, all those elements that go together to make the living space in the urban environment work and function as a unit. As civil engineers, we plan those facilities, and we also design and give instructions for how those facilities are put together. Those are called the plans that you often see and hear about. As a consulting civil engineer, I am essentially hired by municipalities, private agencies, or institutions to put those designs.
Civil engineers design roads, bridges, tunnels, dams, and airports. They combine a knowledge of materials science, engineering, economics, physics, geology, and hydraulics to create the physical infrastructure essential to modern life. Naturally, there are numerous subspecialties. Surveying and mapping engineers identify the best sites for construction. Hydraulic and irrigation engineers focus on dams, flood control, wells, and reservoirs. Environmental engineers deal with wastewater products, garbage disposal, and recycling plants. And traffic engineers specialize in designing people-moving systems, be they underground subways, commuter railroads, or new or improved roads and highways. A bachelor's degree is the minimum educational requirement. At some universities, this is a 5-year program. But co-op, junior college, and night school options are also available. Becoming a civil engineer is a lot of work, but if you like the idea of being part of big, complex projects that improve people's lives, it could be just
some of the pros and cons of being a civil engineer. I'll start with the positive side, pros. First of all, the work as a civil engineer is seldom routine. That is, when we work on one project and then go to the next one, they're enough different that you're not in a rut or you're not always doing the same thing all the time. Another pro of being a civil engineer is that it's a well-respected profession. You are considered a key member of the community and well-liked in general. Another nice thing that a lot of guys like about civil engineering is neither an indoor nor an outdoor job. There are opportunities to be outside, there are opportunities to be inside, and so you are not, again, stuck in the same routine. And the other positive that I can think of is that as a profession, it generally pays a little bit better than lots of other professions. Now, on the other side, the cons of being a civil engineer include, as civil engineers, when we put together a set of plans or documents, if there are errors in those documents, we are liable for them, and there can be a significant amount of liability exposure being a civil engineer. The second thing that I can think of is during an economic slowdown, as the amount of money that flows into the economic system pulls off a bit, there can be slowdowns in the engineering profession. Less infrastructure is built, less money is spent on the things that we design, and so there are periods of time when, as a civil engineer, you're not necessarily having a steady stream of income. Another con that I can think of is as servants, that is, in a service industry, there is really a cap to the amount of money that you can make as a civil engineer. It's not like being a movie star where your design is going to be used over and over again and you're going to get millions and millions of dollars. And finally, I would think that the key negative of being a civil engineer is we have deadlines, we have obligations, we have duties to our clients. That means deadlines, and there can be a certain amount of stress in the profession. A good background in mathematics and the sciences. You will be using those throughout your career. Don't neglect writing, because an engineer is always writing reports and summarizing material and communicating with clients and communicating with agencies. So keep abreast of your writing skills as well. Once you get through junior high and high school and go on to a college, all accredited college programs will have an engineering path, and you can sit and talk to a professor and go to that department and they'll outline the academic path that you need there. The other tip that I would give in terms of looking at a path towards civil engineering is to observe the world around you, especially in terms of the way it relates spatially. And by this I mean learn to get a grasp of how buildings are put together, how roads are put together, how things fit and interact in the environment. And as you watch and observe these things, you'll come into the engineering profession with the right background and the right graphics qualities to see how things fit together and to be a great civil engineer. Some of the tools that are used by civil engineers. I think first and foremost today, the major tool that we use is a computer. And of course, a computer is no smarter than the software that runs it. As engineers, we use lots of different highly technical software written and designed explicitly for the industry. But another piece of that whole package of tools is a printer. We use fairly sophisticated printers to output our designs and to put the computer-aided design onto a sheet of paper that can be interpreted and read by other people who are going to put our plans in perspective. Another real key element or key tool to our profession is the telephone. I tell my staff that communication is the key. It's important to let clients, agencies, all those people that you are relating to and with in a project to know what the status of the project is, what decisions are being made, and how the project is being put together. So the telephone is a key tool. We also use email significantly. We transfer drawings and material that way. One reasonably new tool that engineers are using more and more is global positioning systems. We use that to spatially put our designs, our features, the elements that we're putting together in the civil engineering design documents spatially on the Earth or in the universe. And global positioning systems are becoming more and more a tool that we use on a regular basis. Hardest day at civil engineering as a civil engineer is when you get that phone call from a client and he calls you up and he says, you know, this thing you put together, it's not working. Those are not fun times, and they often require a lot of scrambling and putting things together. In my career, I've been very fortunate that I've got them to work again, but that is a very unnerving part of being a civil engineer.